Welcome to the show. It's your girl Sarah right here on the Sunrise, and I'm very, very excited to be here because we still have a lot more left to talk about. We still have a lot more left to discuss about right here on the Sunrise. Okay, now I'll be here to keep you company all the way until 9 a.m. because we have a lot of interesting news. We have a lot of interesting thoughts to be sharing with you, so make sure you stay tuned. Okay, now we're going to be discussing mental health, something that is at the forefront here right here at the Tokyo Olympics 2020. Okay, and that's absolutely amazing because right now there is this increased priority or increased importance that is given to mental health during sports or at sports, right? So that is what we're talking about it because it's very, very important. And recently, Biles actually withdrew from her team because she wanted to focus on her mental health, and that was widely applauded here, not just here obviously, but all around the world as well. A lot of people applauded her and supported her and appreciated the fact that she was actually taking some time for her mental health to make sure her mental health was better, and why that's currently a new focus and why that's important as well. So that's what we're talking about. And make sure you stay tuned because that is an important conversation to be having, especially with all of these things that that we have been going through in the past year. It's more important than ever to actually make sure that our mental health is focused on, that we have good mental health and we are mentally healthy. Okay. So make sure you stay tuned to the conversation because if you want to share your thoughts, if you want to share your opinions, your comments with me, you can actually do that. Okay, all you need to do is just text me on 07852473473 to get in touch with me, to share your thoughts, to share your opinions, and whatever it is that you're feeling, to make sure that you are okay. Okay, so don't forget to do that because I want to know what you're thinking, I want to know what you're feeling, and I want to know what you are hearing as well. So don't forget to do that. Now, before we head back into the conversation, I want to very quickly remind you that you can in fact be a part of the show. All you need to do is just text me on that number, but also something else that you can do is actually to go follow us on our socials, right? Which is Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. Now you can like us or you can like us on Facebook rather, and follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok because we have some amazing content for you to make sure you're informed, to make sure you're aware about everything that happens, not just here in the UK, but in fact all over the world as well. Okay, so that's absolutely amazing out as well. And I'm very, very excited to be here because you can actually join this conversation live. You can contribute to this conversation live if you download an app which is available on both the Apple App Store and the Google Play Store. Okay, now it's very, very easy. It's just a few steps. Head on over to your Play Store, your App Store, whatever it is, and type Relax Radio on your search bar, right? Relax with RELAKS, right? Not with X, but with AKS, because we're all about the positivity. We want to make sure that there's no negativity right here when it comes to you, when it comes to your thoughts, when it comes to your day and how that actually goes by. Okay, so make sure you go download the app so you can listen into the conversation from anywhere in the world at any time of the day. And I honestly don't think it can get any better than that. So don't forget to do that. Don't forget to download the app and stay tuned to the conversation from anywhere in the world. Right now, let's actually get into a topic which is basically about how mental health is in fact at the front lines in the 2020 Olympics, which is currently being held at Tokyo. Okay, now, obviously, the reason I'm talking about this is because Simone Biles actually pulled out of Olympics to focus on her mental health, right? So Simone Biles has in fact withdrawn from the women's all-around gymnastics final at the Tokyo Olympics on Thursday after a further medical evaluation determined that she is not yet ready to compete. Okay, now the news actually followed her dramatic decision to stop competing in the women's team event on Tuesday after only one rotation on the wall due to mental health issues, right? Now, what we need to keep in mind and what we need to understand is that, look, when I was on Twitter, when I was on other forms of social media, and I was looking at all the tweets and the comments that people had to say about Simone Biles and her decision to withdraw, I saw a lot of negative comments as well. right? And obviously these were things like, oh, why did she withdraw from the finals, it's important that she should have participated, and a whole lot of ridiculous things, because it really did not make sense to me. And there was even one person that went as far as to say, oh, it's just a few minutes on TV, so she can just do that, right? But what I want you to keep in mind, and what I want you to understand, is that mental health is very, very important. And I'm not just saying this for the sake of saying it, but it is genuinely because mental health is, in fact, very, very important, right? And the reason I'm saying this is because if you don't focus while you're doing your walls, or if you don't focus on whatever performance that you're doing at that moment, you could possibly die, right? Because it just takes one misstep for you to break your neck and die. Right, it's really that serious, right? And I hate how people are constantly underestimating athletes and their decision to withdraw from sports due to mental health reasons, right? Now, we saw this exact same reaction, we saw this exact same criticism being there for Naomi Osaka as well, when she decided to, not take part in the press conference, and there was a lot of controversy about it as well. Why is it that we hate it when people focus on their mental health? Right, that's an important question that we need to be asking, right? Is it because we don't prioritize mental health? Is it because we don't focus on mental health at all, that the moment someone does it, we get outraged because we don't want people to care about their mental health? And honestly, that's what it looks like, because there are so many people out there on Twitter, on Instagram, whatever the social media platform is, criticizing Simone, criticizing her decision, and saying, oh, it was just a few minutes, you probably should have done that. But look, the truth is, she was not okay. She just wanted to make sure she focused on her mental health, because that one misstep can actually mean that she just dies, right? And yeah, and then what are you going to say at that point? Oh, she probably should have, not done it. Because these people are also all the people that keep changing their mind, and they always have something to say about everything, like everything. Sometimes their opinion is so unsolicited, no one asked for it, but they literally have something to say about everything, right? So, after seeing all of this criticism, after seeing so many people say different things about her, I was wondering why people actually, have the audacity to say things like that. Right now, however, going back into our conversation about Simone Biles and her decision to actually withdraw from Olympics to focus on mental health, she, on a statement, or in a statement, she actually said that she in a statement, she basically said that she wanted to take this few days of mental health to focus on herself, and that maybe she might return for the individual events at the games next week, right? In a statement from the US Gymnastics, they said that there was also the possibility that Biles, who could still complete in 4 more finals, can in fact return next week for the individual games, right? And after further medical evaluation, Simone Biles has in fact withdrawn from the final individual all around competition, it stated, right? And something that they did was that they actually said that they wholeheartedly supported Simone's decision, and that they applauded her bravery in prioritizing her well being, right? Her courage shows yet again why she's such a role model for so many people out there, right? Taking that decision, especially knowing that you're going to be criticized for taking that decision, but still being strong enough and brave enough to follow through on it, and to take that decision to say, look, I need to focus on my mental health, is in fact something that you can consider brave right now, because people don't care. People actually, mental health, mental well-being is not something that is focused on in this day and age, at this point of time, by the world, right? And even if you were having mental health problems, and say you wanted to take leave or you wanted to withdraw, you would have to provide a physical reason, because chances are, if you said you were having mental health problems, people are probably going to, make fun out of you, or say it's not that big of a problem, which is a very negative attitude that you can actually have towards mental health, that you can actually have towards someone who is going through a lot of mental health issues as well. Now, Jade Carey, who actually finished ninth in qualifying, will take Biles' place in the all round, and because Carey initially did not qualify, because she was the third ranking American behind Biles and Sunisa Lee. Right. And, with her withdrawing, what that means is now Jade Carey will in fact take her place. And and that she will be qualified for the other events that she will be participating in. Right now, what's important to keep in mind is Biles' decision has in fact been widely praised by America's sporting superstars. Right now, Michael Phelps was among those insisting that it would blow the doors open over athlete mental health. Okay, which is something that not a lot of not a lot of media or not a lot of people care about. Right, they forget that athletes too need to focus on their mental health sometimes, that there is a lot of pressure and burden on them to compete well, to make sure that they get medals or win back glory for their country. And in instances like that, it's very, very important that Biles is actually creating this pathway. She's making sure a path is there for athletes who want to focus on their mental health. And obviously, not to forget that it's not just Biles, but also Naomi Osaka, who also decided to to avoid to avoid a certain press conference because she wanted to focus on her mental health. So it's important that athletes like this are opening the way, and they're opening the discussion and making way for these discussions that are centered around mental health of athletes. Right now, Phelps, who's in fact the most decorated Olympian in history with 23 gold medals, said that seeing Biles leave the arena actually broke his heart, but said that her actions would make waves far beyond this year's Olympic Games, right? Because now she's finally, bringing into spotlight how important mental health is, right? And what he had to say was, I hope this is an eye-opening experience. I really do. And he also added that he hopes this is an opportunity for everyone to actually jump on board and to even blow this mental health thing more wide open, right? Because it's so much bigger than you can even imagine. And what he said is that as an athlete, as a sports person, he carries a lot of weight on his shoulders. And he wasn't only just talking about himself, but he was talking about all of these, he was talking about all of these other athletes as well, who carry a huge burden on their shoulders because they need to make sure that they represent their country, because they need to make sure that they try to win as many medals as they can and whatnot, right? So because of that, Phelps said that we carry a lot of weight on our shoulders, and it's challenging, especially when we have the lights on us and all of those expectations being thrown on top of us. Right now, speaking to NBC, Phelps also recalled his own battles with mental health, and he also said that he found it very, very hard to ask for support when he actually needed it. Right. And he said personally that he can say it was something that was very challenging and it was very hard for him to ask for help. Right. And, then we have this whole question of whether that's the case because, he's a man. And when it comes to men's mental health and men's health in general, we know how there's a whole stigma surrounding it as well. Okay. So what's important right now, what's important for us to focus on is that Simone Biles has in fact made the way for a lot of these athletes out there to actually focus on their mental health and say, look, you know what? I care about my mental health. You need to care about my mental health, because if we are going to focus on winning, if we're going to focus on being better as a country, then we need to definitely make sure that we focus on our mental health, right? So that's an important conversation to be having, but make sure you stay tuned, because right now we're actually going to head into a small break. And after that, we will be back to keep talking about this. So until then, make sure you stay tuned.
The valuations that you place on an asset are always behind you. It's always in hindsight. It's never in front of you. And that's one of the challenges, right? Because you're always valuing what happened yesterday. And what you need is what's going to happen tomorrow. What am I saving or investing for? Why am I doing it? When will I need the money? And how much money do I need? Yeah. So that's quite important, because when you're looking at your net worth, you got to start with saying, well, what do I want my net worth to be, so that there's a goal, and then work backwards. How do I get there? And if I can start with £50 or $50 a week, if I save that every week, and you can go online and use calculators online. I don't have to teach you the maths behind it, but you can say, okay, and if I get a 3% return and I put this away for how long will it take to reach my goal? And that's called just this basic cash flow projection calculations. And it's what we use in financial planning all the time. What we say to clients is we say, okay, what is your goal? What is your objective? Where do you want to go to? And we discuss that in a lot of detail and over most of the meeting. And then the rest of it is saying, okay, in your exact circumstances, with your risk profile, with how you feel about investments and pensions and taxes and where you are and who you work with, and your education level or your lack of education or how involved you want to be. There's a lot of variables that we take into account, and then we say, okay, here's a plan. You start like this, that's great. And then we review it all the time. And we say, okay, we need to increase it, we're on track, we're not, this is what is happening. Because remember, when you're dealing with assets, the valuations that you place on an asset are always behind you. It's always in hindsight. It's never in front of you. And that's one of the challenges, right? Because you're always valuing what happened yesterday, and what you need is what's going to happen tomorrow. So that's a struggle. Yeah. So there are strategies everywhere from £50 a week up to £100 million, and they're different. Right? They range differently from everyone, but and from country to country, to be fair. Different countries have different tax laws, so different vehicles. But from your point of view, at the sort of normal end, I'm not going to call it the low end because I'm in that boat as well. It's as tax efficient as you can get it. That's where you start. You use all the tax efficiencies, and then you step up into different things.
Welcome back to the show. It's your girl Sarah right here on Relaks Radio. Now you're tuned into The Sunrise and you're listening to The Sunrise, and we're having a very, very important conversation that is focusing on mental health and why mental health has taken a priority, is something that is being focused on this during these Olympics that are currently being held in Tokyo. Okay, so that's what we're talking about, and that's what we're focusing on as well, because it's a very important discussion to be having. So obviously, I'm very, very excited to be here to share my thoughts and my opinions with you, because I want to make sure that you're aware about why mental health is so important, not just for athletes, but for everyone in general, right? But obviously, the main focus right now is for athletes because of Simone Biles' decision to actually withdraw from the Olympics, citing mental health concerns, right? So that's what we're talking about. But obviously, we're focusing on why exactly mental health is so important and why we need to start prioritizing it, okay? So that's the conversation we're having. However, before we get back into our conversation, I want to very quickly remind you that you can in fact be a part of this show, okay? All you need to do is just WhatsApp me on 07852473473. Let me know what you're thinking. Let me know what you are feeling. I want to know what you're thinking. I want to know what you're feeling. And if you have any questions, if you have any doubts, well, don't worry, because I'm here to answer all of them, okay? You can text me, call me, or you can even comment on our live feeds. Especially make sure you make use of that, because I want to make sure that you understand what I'm talking about, you understand what I'm saying, and also that you are aware about everything that is happening in the world. So if you really, really want to stay updated, if you really want to make sure that you're informed, especially in a time where there is a lot of misinformation, where there is a lot of misinformation and fake news about everything, well, then it's very, very important for you to go follow us, right? Go like us on Facebook, go follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok, and subscribe to us on YouTube, because that's actually going to help you be more aware and be more informed about everything that happens all over the UK and all over the world as well. And don't forget to download the app, which is available on both the Apple App Store and the Google Play Store. That way you can actually make sure that you're always a part of the conversation, you are always listening in, and that you're taking us with you wherever you go. Don't forget to do that, because right now we're actually going to head back into our conversation about Simone Biles and her decision to quit, or rather withdraw from the Olympics to focus on her mental health, and why that is very, very important. And what it exactly, or what it means for all of these Olympians, for all of these athletes who've had mental health issues, who've had struggles with asking for help when it came to their mental health, right? So earlier we were talking about Michael Phelps, and how Michael Phelps he couldn't ask for help, how things really changed for him, and it got very hard for him to ask for help. And we were talking about his story, right? But it and something he also had to say was that when he asked for help, he actually struggled finding it. Now he said he can say personally that mental health struggles is in fact very, very challenging, and he said it was very hard for him to ask for help. But it's so important, especially to teach kids at a very young age to take control of their physical and mental health, right? Because ultimately, at the end of the day, we're all human beings, nobody is perfect, and we have to make sure that we are all we have to make sure that we are taking control of our physical and our mental health, right? We need to make sure that we focus on it, we prioritize it, and we make people understand that it's okay to take time off if it is for your mental health. It's okay to take time off and make sure that you are focusing on your mental health, because ultimately, at the end of the day, mental health is very, very important. Okay. Now, someone else that spoke about, or rather spoke with regard to this, was in fact Katie Ledecky, right? And after winning her sixth Olympic gold medal in the women's 1,500 meters, she actually spoke of the pressure that Biles had been under, right? And what she said was that everyone around the world is watching, right? And certainly Simone has so many eyes on her, and the cameras are also following you around, and you experience that on days like today, the day when Simone quit, right? And she said you can feel like a lot of people are watching you, and every move you make is being watched and judged. And let's be honest, right? That is the case. If you go scroll your social media feeds, especially Twitter, you're going to find rather so many people who will have different things to say about things that different people do. People are so judgmental. They literally watch you, they literally observe you just so they can judge you. And that's just how society is. So obviously, when you feel like you're constantly being judged, when you feel like so many things are going wrong, or you feel like the smallest mistake can create the biggest controversy, it's very, very hard, and you obviously feel pressurized, and you feel like there's a lot of burden on you, right? So mental health campaigners around the world have in fact applauded Simone Biles for her decision to actually, for her decision to withdraw from the Olympics, citing mental health concerns. Right now, they were praising her for prioritizing her well-being after the world's top gymnast withdrew from the women's all-around gymnastics final at the Tokyo Olympics. Now, Biles' decision was also widely commented by charities. So, for example, Rethink Mental Illness among those were actually one of the biggest mental health charities that praised the Olympian on Wednesday. Right, what the charity said was that everyone needs to prioritize their mental health, even the best athletes in the world. So Simone Biles' decision to withdraw from the Olympics final will not have been taken lightly, and it's in fact great to see the support that she has received from her teammates as well. Now, the charity mind also congratulated Biles on her bravery, because after she walked away from the women's team competition, Mind actually wrote on Twitter that working in elite sports like gymnastics it comes with an unimaginably high level of pressure, perfectionism, scrutiny, and even comparison, right? And that's just the truth of it. No matter how much you try to say, look, we don't compare, we don't judge, you can be yourself, you can do your best, and people will appreciate and support that. That's really not the case, right? And if anything, if you want evidence for that, if you're still finding it hard to believe, just scroll down your Instagram feed and just search the hashtag Simone Biles, right? Because you will find so many people who've said terrible things about the fact that she decided to withdraw from the Olympics, right? But she's very, very brave for focusing on her mental health, for putting her mental health first, and telling herself, look, I need to focus on my mental health, so I don't care what you're going to say, because I'm going to focus on my mental health. And that is exactly what she has done, right? And they said that Simone Biles is incredibly brave for speaking out and highlighting the importance of looking after your mental health, right? Now, Simone Biles is in fact a role model for women and girls everywhere, and she in fact deserves our applause, our respect, our appreciation, and above all, our support, right? So if you're not going to be supportive of her, if you're not going to be supportive of the choices that she has made, then you really need to question your values as an individual and ask yourself, what exactly is it that you're so focused on, that even when it comes to the health of someone else, that you don't really care about it, as long as it means that you know your country, or you get you or your country receives appreciation and applause for it, right? So obviously that's what we're talking about, and we need to make sure that we appreciate Simone's decision, or because she's paved the way for so many women out there to finally take that chance into their hands, to make sure that their mental health, mental well-being is in fact focused on as well, right? Now, like I said, she's paved the way for so many women out there to make sure that they can talk about their mental health. And it's not just women, because we're talking about athletes as a whole, right? We know there are so many athletes out there, including Michael Phelps, including Katie Ledecky, who have been unable to talk about their mental health, who have struggled with asking for mental health help because of the burden and the struggles that they had to go through, right? So obviously, in instances like that, it's very, very important, and it's absolutely amazing that Biles went ahead and said, I'm going to focus on my mental health. I want to make sure that I focus on my mental health, and I want to make sure that you also pay attention to the fact that mental health is important, right? So that is something that we need to applaud her for. Now, the American sprinter and long jumper Tiana Bartlett also said, she's won about 3 gold medals across the London 2012 and Rio 2016 Olympics, and she said that Biles' actions would actually resonate far beyond support, right? Because what you need to see, or what you are going to see right now, is that the people who actually witnessed Simone walk away from this are actually people who are stuck knee deep in some of those issues right now, right? Because let's be honest, going to the Olympics, performing in front of millions of cameras, and knowing that every movement you make, every step that you take is in fact judged, is in fact very pressurizing. And no matter how much you try to say, it's not that big of a deal, it's only a few minutes, this is what these athletes have trained for their entire lives, right? So it can be overwhelming. And in instances like that, it's okay for you to tell them, look, I care about my mental health, I care about staying healthy, and I care about making sure I make the right decision. Because like I said, if you lose focus, if you lose concentration for just even a minute of when you are performing a waltz, or when you're performing some complex movement, it can potentially mean that you have a misstep, that you miss your step, and you have a very, very dangerous you have a dangerous injury, right? And that's why it's so important, and that's why people are applauding Simone as well, because she told everyone and she proved to everyone, look, I'm going to take that step and make sure that I am thinking about myself, because I don't want to take that misstep, I don't want to put myself at risk. And with that, she's actually paved the way for all of these athletes, to make sure that they can talk about the mental health issues, right? So we obviously spoke about how Michael Phelps also had a lot of issues talking about it and asking for help. And like I said, this could also be the added fact, there could also be an added factor of how, when it comes to men's mental health, there is a lot of stigma that surrounds it as well. When a man rather asks for help, there's a way in, you stigmatize it, and you say, men are supposed to be strong, they can't be vulnerable, they're not supposed to ask for help, and you constantly make them feel like their problems aren't even big enough for help, right? So in instances like that, we know that she has created this whole avenue, this platform for all these people to actually come up and talk about this. Now, Mark Adams, who happens to be the spokesperson of the International Olympic Committee, also said that he hopes that what they're doing in terms of mental health is right, because he also applauded Simone for the decision she made. And he said that regardless of what happened, that they all have huge respect and support for her because of the decision she made, right? So obviously, they're very, very supportive and very proud of the decision she made. And what Mark Adams had to say was that mental health is in fact an incredibly important issue, right? So he's wondering if they're doing enough, and he hopes that they're doing enough. And if anything, they just need to make sure that they keep continuing that but also try to do much more on that issue. Okay, so make sure you stay tuned, because that is the discussion on mental health with regard to, Simone Biles and her decision to withdraw from the Olympics. So make sure you stay tuned, because I will be back in a few more minutes to actually continue talking about how Boris Johnson is going to boost police powers. Okay, so make sure you stay tuned for that, because that is going to be a whole other interesting conversation as well. So don't worry, because I will be back in a few more minutes.